Liz.
How are you? Well, yourself? Okay, we're going to now move forward with our committee as a whole. I'm going to go in order. I'm going to ask each chairperson to share out their items and tell us what items were consent. And specifically, we're looking for your discussion items. So if everybody goes to the agenda, we're all looking at the same time. If the chairperson will share out any items that were decided for discussion, each board member take a minute to look over the agenda to see if there's any specific questions that you would like to address at this time. Let me get back to my 6:30 agenda. We'll start with buildings and grounds. Chairperson Brewer.
Okay, all of our items were consent,
Thank you.
and the only discussion item was whether or not field hockey needed to fill out the buildings and ground, even though that is their field and it doesn't get shared with any other sports, but just for the maintenance purpose, so that they're aware and they can line the fields, mow, you know, do they need to fill it out? That was for field hockey, which is in May. The elementaries and also going to high school have practice. That was our only discussion item that we had.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you. Any questions for Director Burr? Okay, we will move to extracurricular committee. Chairperson Klein.
I had 2 items for the committee meeting, and they were both consent items.
Any questions for Director Klein? Thank you. Last 6:30 meeting was budget committee meeting. Director Ellick.
The first 2 items were consent, but I do encourage all of the board to review the IU budget for approval, even though we pushed it to consent, just suggestion for that. Item number 3 will be a discussion item, as this is a big decision for us to make, and I encourage gathering as much information, sending Leanne as many emails with questions and information that we can have presented between now and next week. Refreshing back, we requested the email be sent to everybody that we had a couple of weeks ago when we approved it. So you will get some information to review between now and then, but that will be discussion.
Anything you want to add, Mrs. Martin?
I just add, the contract is currently being reviewed by our solicitor, so I'll send you an actual copy of the contract then, once it's reviewed and she has her stamp of approval.
I also want board members to understand that the importance of this had been a request to have it on the April agenda, so per approval by the board, if this would be an item that is approved, then the company can start making purchases and preparing as needed to prepare for next year. So that was a request and part of the discussion. So that is why it just appeared just recently. I know it's been something that you've been sharing information all along as you were able to, but we're thankful that you were able to have those discussions and present something to us. Thank you.
I think highlighting from just the discussion part was the cost increase, but we are getting significant improvements. The GPS, the security videos on every bus is a huge desperate need for us as far as disciplinary issues, and radios for constant contact and direct contact. So I think there's a lot of maintenance. We also get maintenance for all of our vehicles at, I'm gonna say this wrong, cost of parts. Okay. So there's just going to be a lot of information. I encourage everybody to send as many emails and get as many questions. Specifically, if anything you're asking is a direct number that we're going to need her to get in advance. Thank you.
What is the cost difference? What is the cost difference?
So the best way that I could look at it was to take 17-18's data, because it's a full year of runs from students, and So the way it's going to be charged is there's a minimum that they get paid or formula. And formula is your PDE reimbursable amount for each run. So what I did was I put their minimum in and saw and calculated out which ones were PDE formula was greater and which one was minimum greater. And the additional cost that I could calculate using the 17-18 data updated with the newer years of the buses, updated with the new, I can't think, it's almost like an index that PDE uses each year. They increase the amount, using the amount that they're saying is going to be for 1920, and all those factors into it to estimate. I'm estimating it's going to be about $230,000 to $250,000 additional cost each year. We think we might be able to get remove a van or two, which will save us a substantial amount, maybe another $20,000 to $30,000 on a van run being removed. And we also are hoping that with new software and all the maps and the information students can put in, that we can hopefully make some of the bus runs a little more efficient, that we get higher reimbursable amount back from PDE, but there's no guarantee of that. It's just a new set of eyes looking at it differently and seeing what we come out of it.
Any additional questions at this time?
Is like Mr. Sellers right now is he's the director of this, I guess, does this $230,000 include hiring a director, or is that a?
So the $230,000 is just the transportation amount for daily commuting back and forth to school. Mr. Sellers' current salary, what we pay him as a contracted worker, is roughly $39,000, I believe. And we'll be looking to hire somebody probably in that same salary price, but then they'll be a district employee, so we'll have to potentially add on benefits to that, or we will have to add on benefits to that.
So DB Fisher doesn't
Fisher's-
supply someone, or? That
They don't
would be
have someone that will
employee.
be in-house to make up the runs and designate and be the contact person for our district. What they have that DB Fishers will be offering is somebody in their offices that's designated during the run time, morning and evening, who her job is solely to answer the phones for Northern London School District with any issues or complications that arise. So they do have like a designated office person from Northern London School District, but she won't be a school district employee and she won't be designing, I can't think of a better word, the runs, so.
So you need to hire somebody who has experience in doing that, right? There needs to be.
Well, that would be ideal, but if not, I do have a plan for cross-training that I've been thinking of. I haven't asked the other district that I would like to work with at this point, so I'm not comfortable saying that. But I have thought about that process, and I do have a plan that I would like to do. I just need to make sure that all parties are agreeable to it. And then DB Fishers will also work with us on bringing that person up to speed with all how they handle everything and how they handle things. They currently work with Anvil, Cleona School District, Lebanon School District, and Cornwall Lebanon School District Zans. So they do have processes in place and how they're used to working with other school districts in the area. So they will be at our service this summer to help us as much as they possibly can with that. And then, like I said, I do have a plan in place that I'm thinking, well, not a plan in place, a plan that I'm thinking of for cross-training. I just have to get there. I haven't gotten to that point yet.
I think we crossed some like personnel questions that would come into place too that might not be as public at that point too, if we're looking at in-house changes or people who we already have employed taking on that position. So I think if it's, at this point, we're looking to, regardless if it's in-house or a new hire, we will have to make up the difference of what we were getting that coverage for. So that's something we do have to keep in consideration.
I'd like to just offer one thing, and correct me if I speak out of turn, but my understanding is that with the shared, you had mentioned some school districts that use the same provider, that there could be some possibility of some decreased van usage because of the sharing of facility, sharing among school districts, and there's also the software component that could make us run much more efficiently using less vans, and so there are some possibilities.
To lower the cost, yes.
Correct.
My estimate is conservative. So yeah, there is, and we are going to be DB Fishers for any other runs that they do with shared other school districts in the area. So if they're running kids down to Lancaster IU or into Lebanon's IU or out to a private school in the area, we're going to look to combine those and share a van.
May I ask you one more thing? Can you speak to our current bus drivers and position, moving forward, what that'll look like for employees and current bus drivers?
Sure, so DB Fishers already drives many of our runs for us. They are subcontracted with Matt Sellers, so those bus drivers will stay in employment with DB Fishers. And then DB Fishers will be looking to hire many bus drivers, as now they will need to employ other bus drivers because they're not subcontracting it out. I have talked with them and I have asked them, and they agree we should encourage bus drivers from the other companies in the area to apply with them. They will have to go through the same hiring process as any new employee of DB Fishers. But please, we encourage all of our current bus drivers, you know the area, you know our students, you know the community. We would love to have you apply at DB Fishers and hopefully stay on as a bus driver. And DB Fishers said that they too would like that, and obviously we'll give them, a shot at it, and they would look favorably to hire them pending everything else works out.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. Our post 6:30 meeting, curriculum, Director Murray?
So we had 4 items on the agenda, and we moved item 1, policies, to the consent agenda. Item number 2, the tentative policies, we also moved to consent agenda. The retirement, number 3, the policy for retirement, we moved to consent agenda. And item 4, the acceptance of the exchange student, we changed the language a little bit on that agenda item, and we added that pending all documentation that is needed for final approval, because we are still waiting for some things from that particular student before they would be approved, but what we have so far does meet our board policy. So we just want to add that pending language in there. So that's all I have.
Any questions for Director Murray? Okay, our final committee, Human Relations, Director Erman. Ms.
We have-
McGee, it's mine. Even when I turn it off, it's still on.
Yeah.
That's where
Sorry.
it's been.
You pull the plug out?
It's wired in there, that's what it is. You got it wired, man. Aliens.
You want me to look at it?
No, I don't care. I just keep my mouth shut. It's fine.
So we had 7 items for Human Relations Committee, and all 7 items were for consent. And there were no discussion items.
Any questions for Director Erdman? Okay. I would like to remind you, in your yellow folder, there is our invitation to the dinner with the Student Council, which is next week at 5:45. Some other dates to keep in mind. We will have a budget workshop to everyone in the community following the meeting next week, April 9th. May 7th will be our committee meeting. We will have voting meeting May 14th. There will be an executive session prior to that meeting. Any questions? If not, then we will see you next week. Meeting adjourned.
Yeah.